You've got great products, you've probably got a sales, but you're not getting your marketing, messaging in front of the right people at the right time, in the right way. And the whole room's like, wow, you're right. Surround yourself by like-minded people. Don't just sit in your comfort zone. Don't just sit in your own bubble. It can be quite lonely as a founder. And so if you've got people who are on the same journey, birds of a feather should flock together. Share your pains. When you plant a tree, 3 wonderful things happen. First of all, you have to employ someone to do it, so you help them with the mental health and the social mobility. Secondly, you get net biodiversity gain. And finally, over time, a tree hedgerow, it sequesters CO2 and breathes out oxygen. And hands up who doesn't like oxygen.
Jim, thank you very much for joining me today on the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and Carma?
Absolutely, Chris, and delighted to be here. So Jim Holland, co-founder of Carma. I live in West Berkshire. You'll be able to tell from my accent that I'm not from these parts. I'm from Barnsley, South Yorkshire. And I just want to go right back to the beginning, really. Is it the best decision I ever made when I was 17 was leaving Barnsley. I don't know if you've ever been, Chris, but in 1987, when I left school, it was the end of the miners' strike. Male unemployment was 80%. And even with my very poor 3 GCSEs, there was still no opportunities. There was no employment. So I made the best decision of my entire life. And I left Barnsley to join what was then Her Majesty's Royal Navy. I spent 13 wonderful years in the Navy, travelling the world, getting upskilled, getting to know all about myself, getting to know all about people. And I turned my 3 poor GCSEs into a degree in computing, HND in electronic engineering, and a wealth of experience. And I played a lot of rugby, did a lot of training when I was in the Navy. And sadly, I got injured and got medically discharged when I was 30, at which point I made the worst decision of my life. I went back to Barnsley. It hadn't moved on in the 13 years I'd been away. And there was no employment, still a distinct lack of opportunity. So I did what any self-respecting sailor does with a head full of ideas and a pocket full of cash. I bought a town centre pub, basically raved my way through my early 30s. I had the best time ever. It was wonderful. Until the money ran out. It was a fiscal disaster. I lost about £180,000 in 2 years. So I got the liquidators in, did it properly. Couldn't get a job. I got a job as a roofer, as you do when you've got a degree in computing. What I hadn't realised at the time, Chris, when you leave the armed forces, you lose 3 things overnight. Your forces family, your purpose, and your identity. And if you don't compensate for those 3 things, you come unstuck pretty quickly. And I was really unravelling at a great rate of knots. I was in the back of the van coming back from a roofing job one afternoon, on the way to the pub, and one of my old bosses from the Navy rang me up and he said, "Jim, how are you getting on?" I said, "Steve, I'm struggling. I'm missing the Navy like mad. Can't get a job. I'm working as a roofer." And he's like, "A roofer? You're joking. You're the best qualified out of all of us." He said, "Would you consider moving to?" And I went, "Yes." He said, "Well, I haven't told you where yet." He said, "Well, I'm at Vodafone in Newbury. My boss is taking on. We're a team of Unix engineers. She'll send me a CV and I'll send it to him." So I sent him my CV across as soon as I got in. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. "Oh, it's Michael O'Connor from Vodafone." I joined Vodafone 3 weeks later. And that was my resettlement. Massive company, clear vision, clear mission, values. I had a set of objectives to deliver on and I just smashed it. Just got stuck in and it was really important for me to succeed. And it was brilliant. And that was the start of my corporate career. I had 8 years at Vodafone, met my wife Sally there. I left Vodafone, never thought I would. Went to Sky, was head of quality and compliance, 2 words you would never associate with me. And then head of sales. Then I left Sky and went to Stansted Airport, where I was head of commercial, managing the P&L for the landside operation. It was a good job. And then, of course, COVID came, 2020. And we went from moving 100,000 passengers a day at the airport down to 12, and not 12,000, but 12 passengers. There were literally 3 sheep at a shepherd in the airport. I was so fortunate because I was furloughed for 6 months and it was the most wonderful summer. The weather was good. I got my 2 dogs. I was out in the woods and I just reflected on my life. What hadn't I done in my life that I wanted to do? And tragically, really sadly, I lost a Royal Navy Rugby League teammate to suicide about 15 years ago, a guy called Nigel Burkitt. who I'd done an apprenticeship with, and went to his funeral. A lot of the other boys went to his funeral, but beyond that, we'd done nothing. And during COVID, we got headspace and the time to get together, and we formed a charitable association called In Touch Royal Navy Rugby League. And In Touch is built on 3 pillars: reset, reconnect, relive. Reset's all about helping people on that transition from the military into civilian street. Reconnect, reaching out and talking to your old teammates, making sure they're all right. And relive, we get together once or twice a year, have a beer and a meal, and remember how good or bad we were 25 years ago. And it was through that reconnect bit I reconnected with Dr. Andrew Steele. And I knew Andy when he'd left the Navy. He's such a great rugby player. He moved out to Bangkok and started the Plant a Tree Today Foundation. Now, he's planted over 3.5 million trees over the last 19 years. And I don't know if you remember, during COVID, everyone was using Zoom because it was free, and everyone had a blurred background because they were taking calls from the kitchen, the spare room, and Andy was no different. And I'm like, mate, are you still in Bangkok? He said, no. He said, I've moved from Bangkok back to Hull. I went, you've moved from Bangkok to Hull? They only invented Hull to make Barnsley look like Las Vegas. Why would you do that? And very funny. He said, well, I had to come on at some point. And he said, well, you still plant trees? He said, oh, yeah. He said, look, I've started a subsidiary of the Plant a Tree Today Foundation called the Green Task Force. He said, and the Green Task Force, we employ veterans and service leavers to do nature-based tasks. He said, you won't get this lofty, but 10% of all service leavers struggle to find employment, and a further 15% need a hand up, not a handout, in the first 2 years. I went, let me stop you there. Why wouldn't I know that? He went, well, you've done all right, Lofty. I said, I've done all right now, but the first 4 years, he could have gone one way or the other for me, Andy. I'd left the Navy, I was missing it like mad, I was drinking too much, really struggling from a mental health perspective. And he went, well, he said, you love this. He said, look, the Green Task Force, we provide positive pathways to employment for veterans and service leavers through nature-based tasks. We plant trees, we clear woodlands, any tasks outdoors, really. He said, some of the guys and girls got PTSD, and we treat them through nature-based therapy. Everyone, as a bare minimum, gets a vocational qualification in horticulture. And then we work with recruitment companies and employers to get them back on the employment ladder. I'm like, Andy, this is amazing. This appeals to me on so many levels. How can I help? And he said, well, you can't plant trees, Lofty. I was there when you got injured. And I said, I wasn't thinking about planting trees. How can I help your business? I've got all these skills I've built up in corporate world. And he said, well, look, Jim, the metrics are simple. The more trees we get to plant, the more social value we can create helping veterans, and the more environmental impact we can have. And I'm like, man, there's something in this, let me go away. So I went away and came up with the idea. We started off as rewards.earth. We're now Carma, Carma.earth, and Carma's shop for carbon Carma. And we make social value and environmental impact accessible, simple and affordable for businesses to do. We do that predominantly by planting trees in the UK. We've got overseas partners now. We host corporate tree planting days where people can bring their teams and the customers out with us and plant trees. We also, in addition to that, I've got what we call impact plans where people can subscribe and join the platform, get trees planted on their behalf every single month. And we sell carbon credits, and we've got a product called Tree Commerce. So Tree Commerce, plant a tree for every product or service sold. We're on Shopify, we've got APIs, and we just literally bridging the gap between society and the ecosystem, allowing people to plant trees and create social value in their everyday business transactions. Because doing good makes you feel good, isn't it? Everybody loves working with us, and we make it easy and transparent. We've got an impact dashboard, and it's constantly evolving, constantly growing. It's a wonderful thing to be part of, Chris. It's brilliant. And employing veterans in the UK. We recently had a tree planting day with Leonardo. 25 of their team members came along, and got 7 veterans there. So it's just brilliant to be able to give back to that veteran community. Brilliant. I love it.
It's a hell of a story, Jim. So I'm really curious, since you joined and what it is now, how has the mission of the company changed, if it has? Because it sounds like you do a lot more now.
We do a lot more. The company evolves to serve the marketplace. But regardless of that, our North Star remains social value and environmental impact. It's all about the people. Without people, people make decisions, people make impact, and we give back to people and planet. We're a B Corp, a social enterprise. Soldiering on that trophy there, Best Startup 2023. But we've added to our core product offering because everyone loves what we do. We're a veteran-owned and managed businesses. We employ veterans And then they say, well, carbon credits, Jim, we want carbon credits. I don't really do carbon credits, but I need 7,000 tonnes and I've got to buy them. And if I'm going to buy them off anyone, I want to buy them from you. I'm like, all right, I'll get you 7,000. So then it evolved, and then we partner with other B Corps, people that we trust, people who are sending the right signals to the market, who are doing it for the right reasons. And we service that part of the market. So we've evolved to become a bit of a hub and spoke model, conducting the orchestra. We've got different players, different people playing in different positions that we call upon to play the tune that the client wants. And then they can bring it to life on the Carma Impact Hub dashboard. It's a single pane view into all of their sustainability endeavours. We've got a framework that we call ACT, Assess, Commit, Track. So assess, understand your impact on the planet. Of course, it's imperative that customers reduce, reuse, recycle and minimise their impact on the planet, but there's always an irreducible carbon footprint, and we just give them ways to mitigate that, whether that's in pure offsetting, whether it's planted trees, help, and it's just them committing to giving something back to the planet. Of course, tracking it with the T on the Impact Hub, and people love it. Doing good makes you feel good. And I always say, tell your team internally, because it'll endear them to you. You're making this effort, committing. Tell your customers and your future customers that you're going to do it. People win business by using our platform to demonstrate the amount of good they're doing. The CSR, ESG bits and tenders, just copy and paste the profile and go, look what we're doing with Carma. It's empirical. And then I said, but more importantly, go home and tell your family. And because doing good makes you feel good. Everyone loves that. I mean, my kids, I've got 4 kids, are immensely proud of what we do. And when we plant locally, we like to pop out and see what we've done.
So with so many different things that you do, so many different products or services that you offer, it must be quite a complex business to manage. So how have you managed to customize for the needs of each client while also keeping things efficient internally, operationally?
Yeah, so that's all about distribution at work and verticals within the business. So we're split into 3 quite simple parts. Tech development, which is a constantly evolving beast, and support. So anyone who's got a problem with the platform. We've got sales and marketing, and we've got the finance function, which myself and co-founder Ian run quite efficiently. And being an early stage startup, early stage, we're in year 3. It's really important to be abreast of our cash flow, make sure that we're not spending too much. Also, make sure we're not spending too little. We want this business to grow and then making as big impact as what we possibly can. So we're really mindful of that. We split the sales up into 3 distinct sections. So we've got e-commerce, the 3 comms, page you grow, whatever you want to call it. We've got impact plans that we try and do digitally first, and then across the tree planting days. It's quite involved. You can imagine getting 25 people, 7 veterans, 4,000 trees, tubes, stakes, with land, food, drink, toilets, all in one place, all on one day, ready to go for 9 o'clock. Is now impossible, but we somehow manage it. We planted 4,000 trees with Leonardo, the company who builds helicopters, probably 4 weeks ago now, and it's a raging success. But to make it a raging success, there's a hell of a lot of hard yards to get there. But we love it. It's what we do. It's some of the best days out ever, and the feedback we get is off the scale. And one of the most wonderful things that I've realised, and it's been a real surprise, everyone gets off that bus or out of the car, well, we've got to plant 100 trees. I think they're expecting to plant 20-foot oaks. They're actually 30-centimetre widths. So they go in fairly shallow holes, maybe 4 or 5 inches, and easy to do. But you get people out and they're working in groups of 2 or 3, and they're a little bit pensive to start with. You give them a brief, you give them the equipment, you set them up in the groups. And about an hour and a half in, they get into a flow and a rhythm, and they can see the impact. They're out in nature. And what I've twigged is that only 2,000 years ago, we lived in mud huts, caves. Before the Romans came, we weren't a very civilized nation in the UK. And it was imperative that we tended our local environment, because it's where we did all our hunting and gathering. Again, everyone now lives in towns, cities, villages, works in offices, think the food comes from Tesco's. You get them in the land in quite rural surroundings, give them a job, and there's connect with each other, and they connect with us and the veterans. But more importantly, something lights up in them. We're primarily hot-wired to thrive in the natural environment and to enjoy tending it. And it's been such a revelation for me, Chris. And there's not many people that haven't enjoyed a tree planting day and gone, wow, I want to come back every year. Or I sometimes get emails, can you send me a picture of how my hedgerows doing? Some people who are a little bit more direct, I want proof of life. It's brilliant. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to facilitate. And we want to get more people out into natural environments. It's just watching people light up and almost rediscover themselves.
Yeah, I think there's tons of studies that prove that nature actually helps people's mental health. And I think anyone that goes out and gets in nature can feel it. Like you walk through a forest or a wood, you get out even into a park and you can definitely feel it. I want to focus a little bit on the negatives for a little while, if that's all right. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced growing Carma?
Without a doubt, Chris, it's marketing. I listened to a wonderful talk on Wednesday evening, and he said, look, business, you put it into 4 sections: marketing, sales, product, and finance. He said, in early stage founders, they're obsessed by product and sales, but you've got to earn the right to get your product into the customer's hands. And you only do that by having effective marketing and good salespeople. And I'm sat there thinking, wow, you just nailed it in a one. And this guy just said, they've got 15 business owners on the call here. Hands up, who's got a rubbish product? And obviously, no one did. And he said, right, hands up, who's got a better product than one of the competitors, but the competitor is getting more sales? And everyone put their hand up. And he said, there's only one reason for that. He said, you've got a great product, you've probably got a sales, but you're not getting your marketing and messaging in front of the right people at the right time in the right way. And the whole room's like, wow, you're right. It's just it. And he said, your business, 4 parts: marketing, sales, product, finance. Everything else is an enabler to those 4 things. Don't get wrapped up in tech. Tech is just enables your product, even if your product is tech. Sales and marketing, most important thing you do. And tell me, if that's not true, why is the competitor with the worst product doing better than you? And there's no comeback, Chris, is there?
I think we know more than a few companies where the product is worse, but people buy a lot more of it.
Exactly. It's a dark art, and we've never cracked it. We've never cracked the marketing. We're making giant strides. We've just engaged someone. We're looking for a fractional CMO. But I had a wonderful acronym from Chris Forbes, Cheeky Panda, when I was at the Econ Lab Club. And he said his favourite acronym for marketing is TPA. And I was like, TPA, what's that? And he's like, Tears per agency. And I thought that was cracking. I've been there, but I've spent thousands on marketing and we've just not got it right. In fact, we've got it woefully wrong. But year 3, we know what we're all about. We know what we're good at. We know what we're bad at. We know what makes money. We know what's wasting our time. So we're in good shape.
That sounds completely right to me, the 4 pillars of a business. I think when it comes to marketing, things have changed so much in the past, even 5 years at this point, but definitely a decade. I think it used to be easier to sell a product just by getting advertisements out there and letting people hear about you. But now there's so much noise, and especially with AI tools and stuff like that, any 19-year-old can set up an AI business and throw out like tens of thousands of emails a day, right? Now it's about demand generation rather than lead generation. I can't remember I saw the statistic, but more than 2/3 of buyers now don't want to be sold a product. They want to go online, do their research, ask their friends, look for the right thing, and then approach the company rather than get approached by the company. So getting that marketing, getting that content out there is absolutely what so many companies should be focusing on now. And the ones that are doing the best seem to be the ones where either the CEO or the business leader is creating content, or at least has someone creating the content for them and posting it up and like building their brand. They're the ones that are really going to push forward in the next couple of years, for sure.
Really? Well, I mean, my entire life spent with, you know what, I can't say it, which is, I'm in mild panic now. I don't know where my selfie stick is, but I love wandering up and down the forest, and I say to my team, look, if you want a video, I'm happy to do it. It really sets us apart because we do what it says on the tin. We don't just sell trees, we go out and plant trees, employ veterans directly. I was 2 mornings this week, I've been up at 7 o'clock, but that's where we planted the 4,000 trees with Leonardo, because Stone Burt very kindly just stress tested some of the tubes and stakes and blew a few of the trees over, so we've been standing them back up. It's really important to us that we establish these hedgerows. Nature's superhighway, 80% of all British wildlife lives in a hedgerow. But then you think about it, where else would they live? Because you go to the fields and there's just nothing in there. It's all in the hedgerow, and all the insects, all the birds that eat the insects, all the predators that eat the birds that eat the insects, and so on. It's just wonderful. And we're doing more and more of this. And of course, everyone sees farmers as fat cat landowners, and it's just a cash-strapped industry, so they can't afford to put the hedgerows in. So we come along and say, we'll do it for you. We'll get corporate sponsor who gets the bragging rights to planting the trees, the net biodiversity gain, and the social value. Because empirically, when you plant a tree, 3 wonderful things happen. First of all, you have to employ someone to do it, so you help them with the mental health and the social mobility. Secondly, you get net biodiversity gain, and one company said, well, can you prove that? Well, I'll tell you what, rather than me proving it, why don't me and you go for a walk and try and find a hedgerow or a woodland that hasn't got creatures living in it? It's what a silly thing to say. And finally, over time, a tree hedgerow, it sequesters CO2 and breathes out oxygen, and hands up who doesn't like oxygen.
So I want to briefly touch on the agencies thing there, because you mentioned that, and it's a problem that a lot of different sustainability companies have, is like that marketing and sales part, right? Especially in sustainability companies, because so many founders are like really mission and vision led. And for most of them, it's usually their first business. So they come up with a great product and they go out and sell it to their first few customers and go to the networking events, go to the conferences, get those first few people. Then when it comes to actually scaling up, hiring a team, getting marketing and sales dialed in, they usually go for agencies first because they feel like that's what works for them. And in my experience, and with a lot of people that I've spoken to, 90% of the time that doesn't work out well. When you tried bringing those agencies in and they didn't perform, but you still had to take care of those functions anyway, how did you do that?
Late nights. If we'd have got marketing right or the right agency, we'd be in a completely different position. But you don't know what you don't know. And when you're an early stage founder, you want to believe what everyone's telling you. And so we can turn bronze into gold. All you need to do is spend X. And you're like, right, we're going to trust you. This is the budget. You go away and do it. Tell us what content you need from us. We're working on the product. We're fulfilling. We're going to keep selling, generating all these leads. You do your bit. Then all of a sudden you see the money leaving your account. Not so long ago, you have spent 1,500 quid on PPC and 78 quid back. Money well spent. What we're doing wrong. What terms might be a little bit broad and like, crikey. And you just feel like you're forever let down. So one bit of advice I got from a guy called Cush was just bring it all in-house. But again, that's bandwidth we haven't quite got. But we're making strides to address that. So through the network, we're going to get a fractional CMO, and I've just brought someone in to help us at senior management level, but someone who doesn't mind rolling the sleeves up and getting stuck in.
I think a lot of sustainability companies do struggle with recruitment as well, because they don't quite have the budgets of profit-first companies, so to speak. And so they can't afford the really top talent because they can go somewhere else and get double the pay. And it's a difficult one because I've seen a number of sustainability companies now, like what you just said, they should be in a bigger position than they currently are because they just can't afford the people, and the agencies aren't working out for them either. And so what do they do?
There's no silver bullet. You've got to grind it out. Keep doing what you're good at, taking the cash on the table that's available. Then when you have got bandwidth, start thinking, right, tactically, strategically, what can we afford? We took on a digital marketing apprentice. It's been wonderful. There was only 6 of us, 2 of whom were apprentices. One was 17 when we employed him, Taylor. He's now a graduated apprentice in software development. And Tasha, she's a little bit older. She's an digital marketer, and she's brilliant. But again, being a small company, it's almost like the blind leading the blind. So she doesn't know what she doesn't know. Marketing's not our forte. So she might have been better off in a bigger company, but she's added so much value to us. And again, she's growing all the time. That was one of the ambitions of the company, to not just grow trees, but grow people and do the right thing by them. We will be fortifying that marketing team over the next year. And we fundraise. We start fundraise after Christmas, and it'll be one of our first appointments just to get digital presence right, and some of our channels become pure digital first channels, so we can lower our acquisition costs.
So you offer a ton of different products and services to businesses. How have they responded to those offers, and what have the results of those been? Has anything worked out much better than something else? Is one product doing especially well that you didn't expect?
On a personal level, the tree planting days, I've already mentioned that going great guns. It's what we've become famous for. It's what differentiates us within the marketplace. We've got planet positive workforce offering that I didn't think would work, and turned up at a trade fair, and within an hour we sold into 4 companies that wanted to engage their employees with sustainability. We don't sell anything that doesn't do well. The thing that I enjoy serving, and I know I exude the passion for it, is the tree planting days. A lot of effort goes into it, but people get so much out of it, and it endears them to us. What's gone less well is getting people converting digitally on the website, and we're going to get better at that, and picking our audiences. Outreach, difficult. As email at this day, probably need to do a little bit more keynote speaking and engaging and lighting people up and explaining to them the true benefits and giving back to people and planet. It's just the right thing to do, and if you can embed it into your business and endear your customer base to you at the same time, everyone wins. Because in this consumption-driven world, we need the planet to live on. So getting the balance right, being able to give back. It's not greenwashing, it's not green wishing. It's bridging that gap between society and the ecosystem. If you can do that through your business practices, it's good for you. And I think it's companies that latch on now that will make the biggest difference over the next 5 years.
If you had one piece of advice for another sustainability company, what would it be?
Surround yourself by like-minded people. Don't just sit in your comfort zone. Don't just sit in your own bubble. It can be quite lonely as a founder. And so if you've got people who are on the same journey, birds of a feather should flock together, share your pains. It's a bit like counselling. The hardest thing's opening your mouth and saying something, but you feel 1,000 times better for going, yeah, this isn't working, what would you do? And the amount of people that are out there that genuinely want to help you. There's also a lot of people out there who I call them bottom feeders. They're like sharks, and they know you're vulnerable as a founder, and they want to take all your pain away, but it'll cost you $3,000. $3,000's a lot of money for a startup. But that'd be my advice. Spend your money wisely, pick your friends and your inner circle closely, get some trusted mentors around you, and then feel your way through it. Don't be scared of making decisions or mistakes. We've made lots, nearly made a howler a month ago, and but at the last minute I went, no, I've made the decision, I'm not doing that, and I instantly felt relief. So trust your gut, but make decisions. It's the worst thing you can do. Not making a decision is a decision in itself. There you go.
Do you have anything else to leave people on?
Yeah, I just think one of the things as I've matured, I'm not spring chicken anymore. The more you know, the less you need. And the less you need, the more you can give. And giving back is a wonderful thing. Everyone feels better for it. So give back as much as you can.
Appreciate your time, Jim. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye now.